Am I the antagonist for asking my sister if her wedding was worth it? My 27 male sister, 24 female, got married last Saturday. It was a nightmare. She and my mom spent nearly the entire year in the lead up to the event talking about it. This wouldn't have bothered me if it was excitement fueling all of those conversations, but instead it was stress. I've never seen the appeal of a big wedding, but watching this play out has solidified my point of view. My husband and I got married in a small ceremony in front of only close family and friends, maybe 25 people there at most, hosted a slightly bigger reception for others we also wanted to celebrate with, and called it a day. There was no anxiety about planning, no looming dread that this perfect day we had built up in our heads might not go 100% as planned. Just as celebrating our love with people we love. My sister's wedding was the antithesis of that. It was over the top. The guest list was already massive, and then she allowed children there on top of that. If you can imagine 200 plus people plus kids running around what is supposed to be a peaceful event and not get anxious, I envy you. I already knew the whole thing was going to go terribly, as much as I hate to say it. You can't welcome that level of mayhem while also having your itinerary planned down to the minute. There was nothing intimate or personal. It seemed she was inviting friends she hadn't spoken to in years just to fill out more seats. The whole thing was ostentatious, and I have no idea who she was trying to impress. Myself and the rest of our siblings are all in similar financial situations. Just because you have the money to pay for something doesn't mean you should. My husband and I were ready to head home right after the ceremony, but we played nice and stuck around. At one point over the course of the night she ended up in tears, unsurprisingly. I got roped into trying to comfort her, and I asked my sister if it was worth it. Was all the planning and stress and money dropped on this event worth the final outcome? My mom told me that my attitude the entire day had been terrible, the comments from my husband and I were distasteful, and that the question I had asked was awful and rude. I haven't spoken to either she or my sister since. Am I the antagonist? YTA, just because you wanted a small, peaceful wedding doesn't mean that's what your sister wanted. You might get anxious at the thought of a large wedding, but many people don't. A 200-plus person wedding really isn't that ostentatious either. Just out of curiosity, why did you think the best way to comfort your crying sister was to ask if the extravagance of her wedding was worth it? Did you somehow think that would make her feel better, or were you just trying to make yourself feel better? YTA. I agree with your mother. I'm a small wedding person myself, but that doesn't mean I judge other weddings. There is no one ideal wedding. It is different for everyone. You spent the entire day blowing smoke up your own ass by noticing everything that was off about your sister's wedding and patting yourself on the back about how much better yours was, and then when your sister was overwhelmed, you took the opportunity to rub salt in the wound. You weren't trying to comfort her. You were just being an ass. Your mom and sister have likely enjoyed not speaking to you. You sound atrocious. YTA, editing and adding this after the fact since this is getting a lot of votes, and wasn't sure the bot would pick up the sarcasm, info, was making your sister feel bad on her wedding day in order to get a dig in and make yourself feel superior worth it. It was her day, her wedding. Just because you don't agree with her choices does not mean you get to be rude about it. I am in disbelief that you asked her if it was worth it, especially when she was visibly upset and on her wedding day. There is a time and place for everything. The wedding day is not it. Am I the antagonist for calling the cops because no one picked up the kid I was babysitting? My boyfriend and I took his ex's kid for a last-minute overnight stay since the father of the kid canceled on her. She had plans with her friends for the night, and we weren't busy, so we took him overnight when the baby daddy bailed on her. We told her we had brunch reservations the next morning at 11, and while we were happy to help, she needed to pick him up by 9 a.m. She knew this and agreed when she dropped him off. Well, next morning it's 9 a.m., and she isn't here yet. We text and call her with no answer. 10 a.m. rolls around and we try calling her again. She picks up in a very groggy voice and tells us she's got the worst hangover and she won't be picking him up until 2 p.m. We remind her of our brunch reservations and she tells us to take him with us. This kid is 2 years old. It is not enjoyable to take a child this age out to eat. My boyfriend cancels our reservations and gets ready to have this kid until she decides to pick him up. I am furious at this point. This is not my child nor my boyfriend's child. I call her and tell her if she is not here by noon, I will be calling the police to collect her child. She only lives 15 minutes away. She calls me a bitch. I then told her she had 30 minutes to come get him. I waited an hour and there was zero sign of her. We couldn't drop the child off to her since she lives in an apartment complex that you need to have access to get in. So I called the cops and told them I was babysitting, and I don't know where his parents are. They were supposed to be here 2 hours ago. They basically treated it as they would a lost child. They took him down to the station. Little Miss finally rolls up at 3 p.m. and gets belligerent when she discovers I had actually called the cops and gave her child to them. She calls me all sorts of wonderful names and storms down to the police station. Update: we didn't know where she was or if she'd even gone home. We also couldn't contact the fathers since we had no contact information. Update 2: mother of the child is also neglectful and this was the last straw for us. She'd maybe change his diaper twice throughout the whole day, on a good day, and multiple times I'd seen her refill a bottle that hadn't been cleaned in days with actual rotten milk inside. NTA: I'm very glad you called, because this woman very much needs CPS to be keeping an eye on the health and safety of her child. NTA: she was supposed to pick him up at 9 a.m. She didn't. She said she would get him at 2 p.m. and was still an hour late. She was warned you would call the police and still rolled up late to her suggested late pickup time. I just feel bad for the kid being put through this scary experience. You and your boyfriend might want to consider a security system. NTA: funny how many people fail to understand two things. 1. Life does not revolve around them or their child. 2. That 9 a.m. means 9 a.m. and not when they decide to get there. Do not babysit for her again. Her child, her problem, and ultimately the way she acted means that she is going to pawn her child off on others so she can go party instead of being a parent. In my book, you are already a gem for even babysitting the child of your BFSX. Seriously, say no to that next time. You then had to cancel your plans because of her hungover ass, and on top of that you warned her you would be calling the cops? Girl, you gave her every chance. The only thing you are guilty of is not being a pushover. Am I the antagonist for not spending time with my daughter? I, 36M, have 3 children, 12M, 14M, 16F. I spend most of my time with my boys fishing, going on trips with them and their friends. Sometimes we even go camping. A lot of times they even sit around me and my friends when we're at the campfire. We spend a lot of time together bonding as father and sons, but my daughter does not. I take my boys to clubs like coding, American football, and basketball. I asked my daughter if she would like to go to any clubs, but she declined, and I said fine by me. My daughter asks me to do things like practice makeup, fashion, etc. I have no interest. Instead, I like things like football, fishing, and building things. I frequently visit Home Depot with my boys because we are always working on projects like how we are working on building a cabin. My daughter comes around asking me to come shopping with her, which I find unimaginably boring, so I pass on the offer. My boys hate going shopping with their mother and sister, but love the things I do with them, so whenever their mother is not forcing them to come, we are always having fun. I've asked my daughter multiple times to come, but she's refused. The last few weeks she has been asking me to spend time with her, but she never does anything that would interest me. All she does with me is show me new clothes, talk about TV shows, and typical teenage girl stuff. I am not interested in things like getting my hair done, so I do not spend time with her often. Last week she came to me and I refused. I think this was the last straw in her book because she was furious. She started calling me out, saying how I never spend time with her and that I love her brothers more than I care about her. Which is not true. I reassured her that I love her and her brothers equally, but she does not listen. She asks me to try doing what she likes for a change, but I explained to her how I am not interested. My wife has also called me out on this. When I told my friends, they told me it was just a phase and their daughters have done the same. This calmed me down, but my daughter will not speak to me. I feel awful. Am I the antagonist? WIBTA. The priority isn't your entertainment. It's spending time with your daughter. WIBTA. Your daughter isn't quite right. It's not that you love your sons more than her. It's that you love yourself more than all of them. It's just more convenient to spend time with your sons because they happen to be into the same things as you. Being a parent is a sacrifice. Sometimes that means getting out of your comfort zone and doing something that you don't find fun. Because it isn't actually about the activity. It's about spending time together. WIBTA, your daughter shouldn't have to think of activities that entertain you for you to want to get to know her. She is not the parent. That she wants to spend time with you is a blessing that you're squandering. You will not always have this opportunity. Again, she is your child. You are, ostensibly, the adult. The brief, uninterested way that you write about the women in your life shows me a lot about the kind of man you are. By saying you don't want to spend time with your daughter because she doesn't do things that are interesting to you, you are telling her that she needs to change in order to spend time with you. And honestly, it doesn't sound like your sons have any of their own interests, they just follow you. You need to take a long, hard look at yourself before you lose your wife and daughter forever. Am I the antagonist for refusing to bake a cake for my cousin's wedding? I'm a 19-year-old baker. Not a professional by any means, but one of those people who learned baking as a result of quarantine boredom and got really good at it. So my cakes look like they are professionally made and aesthetic. My cousin, 26, is getting married soon, and we've always been very close. We grew up with her living in the same apartment complex, so she was a big part of my childhood. And I'm very close with her younger brother, 20, as well. She's always been like the elder sibling I never had, and I respect her a lot. So I was obviously extremely thrilled and honored when she asked me to bake her a cake for her wedding. It always feels good to have your hobby be recognized enough to be a part of an important event like a wedding. I agreed immediately, and we discussed what kind of cake she wanted. It happened to be a 3-tier chocolate cake with white and pink frosting. I agreed to make her the cake and told her that I'd be happy to make it for free if she was willing to cover the cost of the ingredients. This was a shock to her, and she seemed pretty insulted. She went on to remind me of how I bake cakes for pretty much everyone's birthdays and how it's always for free. I told her that I do that as a surprise gift to them. She's one of the people I've made a birthday cake for, and because I enjoy baking. Also, a birthday cake is easier and more affordable to make. A wedding cake, especially a 3-tier one, is more complicated and pricey. I offered to do it for free if she'd be okay with a smaller cake. But she's adamant on the 3 tiers. I would have been happy to do it as a gift to her, but I'm currently in the process of saving up for a big move and cannot afford to spend so much at the time being. I didn't expect it to hurt her so much, but it did. She started accusing me of not caring about her or her wedding. She thinks I'm being stuck up and selfish and not helping her save up money for the wedding. Her argument is that I'm not a professional baker, so paying me for my work seems ridiculous and unnecessary. This has led to the entire family being on my case, including my parents who think I'm being stubborn for nothing. My aunt told me that she thought we were closer than this. Now I'm not sure if I'm in the wrong. Am I the antagonist? NTA. You're 19. And you're only asking for cost of ingredients. That's very reasonable. NTA, she's asking for a favor. The least she can do is pay for ingredients. It's a huge discount to just pay for ingredients instead of the whole cake if she got it from someone else. She's being TA. NTA, do any of them know how much the ingredients cost? Or how much time it'll take? Or tools you'll have to buy that you don't already own? Because that's your answer. Most people have no clue how much effort goes into a nice wedding cake as opposed to a simple birthday cake. It's easy for them to assume it's like asking someone to make 3 dozen cookies instead of a dozen. Doing it as a wedding present is completely justifiable, imho. Tell the people criticizing you to pony up for the ingredients. You're giving your work for free, they can give the ingredients as a gift. Aren't they that close to your cousin, too? Am I the antagonist for telling my neighbors that I don't care for their living situation? I know the title sounds bad, but hear me out. I recently relocated to Orlando from Miami. Furthermore, I moved to some apartments that most would consider really nice. Not high-end or anything, but definitely nice. Miami was just too expensive, which is the reason for my move. So because I work from home and I have 2 dogs, I wanted to get a 2-bedroom apartment. One that can be an office that I can work from and one for me to sleep. After having my office in the same room I slept in my last home, still lived with my mom, it felt suffocating, like if I never got to escape work. This has been much better for me mentally, and I feel like I'm actually leaving work after I close my laptop. So I've been here about a month and recently saw a family moving in. I'm very introverted, so I didn't introduce myself or anything. The only time I really ever have contact with anyone is when someone is walking their dog at the same time I am and our pups want to say hello to each other. Very quick small talk and then we're on our way. Today, as I was going back inside after walking my dogs, I saw the wife and I just gave a friendly smile. Nothing more. I decided I should throw the trash out before I clock in for the day just to get it out of the way. As I was walking back to my apartment, the wife stopped me to introduce herself. I introduced myself as well. She then asked if I lived with a girlfriend or anything. I told her no, it's just me and the pups. She gave me a strange look that I can only describe as annoyed. She asked if my apartment had 2 bedrooms. I told her yes, that there are 2 bedrooms. She asked me why I wanted 2 bedrooms when I live alone and explained to her the office/sleeping thing I mentioned above. Now this is the part where I may be the asshole. She said that it was really inconsiderate and rude to bigger families to take up a 2-bedroom apartment by myself. That her family of 4, husband, wife, 2 kids, have to share a 1-bedroom because people like me decide to steal the 2-bedroom apartments. I said that it sucks that you feel that way, but there's nothing I can do. She said I should trade apartments with her. I thought she was joking, so I just started laughing. Not a nervous laugh or anything, I just genuinely found her suggestion hilarious. I then said that her living situation doesn't concern me, and if she wanted a 2-bedroom apartment she should have looked harder. She said she was going to report me to the building, and I said that she should report me to DeSantis, Florida governor, while she's at it. I went inside and left her there screaming like a crazy person. Am I the antagonist? I think laughter was the appropriate reaction. Next time, just ignore her and her family completely. Consider getting a doorbell camera because these people are clearly unhinged. NTA. I used to live in Orlando and am looking to move back once my PR kicks in. I frequently look at both rental and housing prices because while I plan to buy, I don't know if we are going to find something right away, so renting may be in the cards for us. With that being said, there are loads, tons of 2+ bedrooms available across the city. This woman cornering and berating you is odd, but also considerably more odd when she can simply move elsewhere. You're not the a-hole for living how you live and not caring about a literal stranger's living situation. NTA, I very much doubt there are no other 2-bed apartments in the place where you live. She should rent one of those. She's being a mooch. You didn't steal anything from anyone. The apartment was available, and you leased it. She wouldn't have gotten your apartment no matter who leased it, because she wasn't looking for an app when yours was still available, and it wasn't going to sit unrented for months. Would I be the antagonist if I attend a wedding and my pregnancy is announced because I will not be drinking? My boyfriend, 34 male, and I, 31 female, have been dating for 12 years and just decided to start trying for a baby. We have not announced that we're trying for a baby because it will result in our families lecturing us about getting married and having a wedding. We do not want a wedding, and marriage isn't important to us. We have a family wedding to attend this weekend, therefore I took a pregnancy test, just to double check, before a weekend of heavy drinking. Well, it was positive and we are so excited. I do not want to announce that I am pregnant until we go to the doctor or after 12 weeks. This happened so quickly, I am not sure what to do. The bride has been dreaming about her wedding day her whole life and all the attention should be on her. I do not want to take her spotlight. This will be the first grandchild in the family and I assume that everyone will be so excited. The problem is that I drink alcohol and get drunk at every family event. My family loves to party and we take shots together, shotgun beer together, and randomly challenge each other to chugging contests. I am fully involved in the festivities and instigate a lot of the drinking. Basically, it will be very noticeable that I am not drinking and refusing shots. I am planning on pretending to drink beers by replacing it with water, but I don't think this will actually fool my family. We are staying at the hotel where the reception is taking place, therefore I cannot just say I am the designated driver. My family will notice that I am not drinking this weekend and correctly conclude that I am pregnant. I cannot imagine missing my cousin's wedding, but also could never imagine stealing the bride's spotlight with my pregnancy. I know the bride will be angry if there are rumors about my pregnancy during her wedding. My cousin will be annoyed that I made his new wife angry, but he's reasonable and would not actually be mad at me. Would I be the antagonist if my pregnancy gets announced or rumored at my cousin's wedding, or should I just stay home sick? My boyfriend suggested that we should call everyone and announce that we are pregnant today. Therefore, it does not happen during her wedding. I don't think making the announcement a few days before her wedding will actually help. In addition, I am uncomfortable with this because I've only taken at-home pregnancy tests and have not been to the doctor. I do not know how far along I am. Plus, I am more terrified of the possibility of having to announce a miscarriage to the whole family. I hope I don't have a miscarriage, but it's a possibility with any pregnancy and the chance drops significantly after 12 weeks according to the internet. TLDR, my family will notice that I am not heavy intoxicated during my cousin's wedding this weekend and correctly assume I am pregnant. Therefore, my pregnancy will be a huge rumor all night, taking the spotlight away from the bride. I will deny the rumors, but would I be the antagonist if I still attend the wedding? WIBTA. Just tell them you have to take antibiotics and are not allowed to drink alcohol while you take them. If they ask what for, say UTI. You're on antibiotics. You have a bet going. You've started a clean eating diet. You're prepping for a blood test. And if anyone asks if you're pregnant, just say no. WIBTA. A simple Google search gives you a few ideas. Don't make your cousin's wedding about you. Don't announce it beforehand. It's tacky. WIBTA, just say you're taking a course of antibiotics and can't drink if anyone asks. Couldn't you also say you're trying to get pregnant so you decided to stop drinking? Then you can announce in a few weeks once you've hit 12 weeks. It's not a total lie, you're just leaving out the success art of trying.